All right, I see some people rolling on. Hope you guys are having a good Tuesday evening. I'm back here in El Paso and broadcasting live from my mom's house. It's just like the old days, and not just the old days when I was a teenager or a little kid, but there was a time in my early 20s we were starting this company, Stanton Street, and we had just put everything on the business and making sure that we had the resources to pay our employees and invest in what we needed to invest in to make it run. And I remember calling my folks and asking them if I could move back back home and live in the little room by the garage. And of course they said yes. And I had a chance to spend part of my 20s living back at home. And so this feels like that. I'm here at my mom's for a few days before heading back home to be with Amy and the kiddos. So anyhow, window onto my mom's house and this beautiful painting right behind me that she's got hung up here. I know that Kate and Cynthia are on, and they're going to help us by posting some links, some opportunities that I want to give you if you're wanting to help in Texas. Many of you, I know, because you've reached out to me and I'm following what you're saying on Facebook and on Twitter and just getting the phone calls and the text messages, are really disappointed and upset by what our governor, Greg Abbott, did today. He announced that our state is completely going to let its guard down. No mask mandate. You can have 100% capacity in any business. We are going to pretend officially as though people are not dying of COVID right now, that more than 44,000 of our fellow Texans haven't died already. More than 500,000 of our fellow Americans aren't dead. Globally, millions dead so far. And unfortunately, until we get this vaccine rolled out effectively and to everyone, most likely millions more will die before this is over. And our best defense against this, for those of us who are not vaccinated, is making sure that we keep a mask on. So whatever the mandate or mandate is or is not going forward, please wear a mask, that we keep physical distance from those who are not in our household, and that we use some common sense and protect ourselves, protect one another, and protect the people that we come in contact with. Because remember, on the mask, it's not just for you. I hear people say, well, look, this is a matter of personal responsibility, and if you don't want to wear a mask to protect yourself, that's up to you, and that's your problem, and if you die, it's your own damn fault. The thing is with masks, what you're really doing by wearing one is protecting everyone else that you come into contact with. So if you're at the drive-through at Whataburger, have that mask on, because the person working behind the window who might be paid, I don't know what you make as a starting employee at Whataburger, $8.50, $9, I hope, maybe 10 at least. But the minimum wage in Texas is $7.25. Don't subject that person to the COVID virus that you might be carrying with you when you go up and order. Wear that mask. Better yet, if you can, stay at home unless you absolutely have to leave. Because unfortunately, despite the governor's pronouncement and his effort to make us feel as though we are past this and there's a big mission accomplished banner hanging behind us, we are nowhere near out of the woods yet. I just read something from the El Paso County judge, Ricardo Samaniego, who said it's something like, let me see if I can get the exact number up here. He has over 280 bodies. That's 280 dead El Pasoans who are in a holding facility. There aren't grave sites or grave diggers, or perhaps the process of determining fully, everything that you need to do before you inter or bury someone is not done yet. But we have more bodies than we have grave diggers or graves or places to put them. We had to open up 10 mobile morgues just in the city of El Paso. We had to call in the National Guard to move the dead bodies. And yes, that is happening now in this city. Not too far down the border is Laredo, Texas, which up until very recently, like within the last few weeks, was the deadliest city in the United States of America, bar none, when it came to COVID deaths per capita. And Laredo, there is no sign-up list to get a vaccine. It's like trying to get Metallica tickets. We know Metallica's coming to Laredo. Call this 1-800 number at Ticketmaster to get your ticket today. 5 minutes later, it's over. All the tickets are sold out, and you have to wait until the next time that Metallica or another band comes to town. That's what it's like to try to get a COVID vaccine in the city of Laredo, one of the deadliest places to be in the United States of America right now. In fact, let me read some statistics for you. Texas is 49th. That is almost dead last in the number of vaccines that have been administered. Only 6.5% of this state of 30 million people is fully vaccinated. We're 24th in hospitalizations per capita. We're 8th in the country. So, in the top 10 for states with cases and deaths. Across the country, Harris County Jail, that's Houston, Texas, is second, ranks number 2 for cases in jails. Texas leads in nursing homes. So for your grandmother and your grandfather and those older Texans among us who are in nursing home facilities, we lead the country in cases in nursing homes. In fact, the top 3 deadliest nursing homes are in the state of Texas. To be clear, the Centers for Disease Control, the federal government, the scientists, the public health experts, the nurses, the doctors, all say that you should wear a mask, regardless of what the governor of the state of Texas says and does. The people that we should be following and listening to, those who literally put their lives on the line by saving the lives of countless of our fellow Texans in the ICUs and in the emergency rooms and in these clinics and these hospitals, they tell us, wear a mask. And if you care about them and you want to honor their sacrifice and what they've been through, then listen to them and do that. If you want to reduce the number of deaths that we're seeing in Texas, wear a mask and follow the best public health guidance. We are still averaging in the state of Texas 200 deaths, not a week, not a month, but a day in this state. 200 people are dying. And folks, so many are dying absolutely unnecessarily, preventable, wearing a mask, staying at home, and not doing what the governor has asked us to do, which is to fill the businesses in Texas to capacity, to remove the physical distance that we've been able to maintain, most of us, for the better part of the last year, to choose not to wear a mask. I got a text from a friend today in Houston who was at a gas station, and there was a person not wearing a mask, and she said something to the person inside the convenience store, and the person said, "No, I saw the order from the governor. We don't need to wear masks anymore." This is extraordinarily dangerous and deadly. People will undoubtedly die because of what the governor did today. More people will die than would have died otherwise. In other words, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is killing the people whom he was sworn to serve in this position of public trust that the state of Texas placed him. And that's on top of the 44,000 who have already died, so many needlessly because of his inaction in the face of the facts and the science and the spreading pandemic. Because of this botched vaccine rollout where there are 254 counties, and under Greg Abbott, there are 254 different systems to deliver vaccines. In Laredo, it's Metallica tickets. In El Paso, there happens to be a wait list that you can get signed up on. In other counties, they are proactively going into the poorest, most vulnerable, hardest hit neighborhoods to try to reach those who've borne the brunt of COVID so far, that has disproportionately hit the poorest, communities of color, Black Texans, Mexican American Texans, Native American Texans. And some counties are focusing on those communities to make sure that they're first in line to get protected, because they will be first in line to die after dumb decisions like this one made by our governor. But it's really all up to the luck of where you live. You may be in a county that has no plan whatsoever. You may have to travel to another county altogether in order to get help. Let me do this. I want to tell you, first of all, how angry I am and how disappointed I am in the governor. This doesn't have to be a partisan or party issue. This is just about saving the lives of our fellow Texans, and instead he's chosen to kill our fellow Texans. I think that outrage that you feel is totally justified and appropriate. But if we leave it at that, then we are part of the problem. Here is something that we can all do together. There's a link pinned at the bottom of your screen, at least it's at the bottom of my screen. it takes you to an events page at Powered by People, which is our volunteer-driven organization that seeks to make things better in Texas. And we work in politics and democracy through voter registration and voter contact. But right now, and over the last couple of weeks, we've just focused on the humanitarian cause before us of helping people who've struggled to survive through this recent storm, and now rejoining the effort to help vaccinate as many of our fellow Texans as we humanly can. If you go to that link, you'll have the opportunity to sign up for one of 17 different vaccination canvases in the state of Texas. So we took a list of the 100 poorest, most vulnerable zip codes in the state of Texas, and 17 of those on Saturday, we're asking you to join us in physically getting out there and knocking on doors. Now, mind you, I'm asking you to wear not just one mask, but to double mask when you do this, to keep at least 6 foot distance from anyone that you encounter or talk to. But this is not something that we can simply do long distance and by the phones, although there's a role for that as well. But this is something we need to do in person if we're going to be able to successfully, at least in some small way, counteract the deadly decision made by the governor today. So if you don't want to just be pissed off and outraged and angry, but you want to actually help save lives, especially when those lives have been put on the line by the governor of this state, then join me and what I hope will be thousands of other volunteers across the state of Texas who are going to be knocking on doors in these 17 communities, in some of the poorest zip codes in Texas, in America, to prioritize those who are in harm's way right now and make sure that we get them signed up, registered for a vaccine in their community and in their county. So here are some of the cities that we'll be in. El Paso, Texas, which, as I mentioned earlier, up until recently in the late fall, was the deadliest city in America for COVID deaths. 10 mobile morgues set up, ran out of room at all the hospitals. We opened up our convention center as a mass field hospital. This city still needs help. If you're in or near El Paso, knock on some doors with me this weekend. I will be out there with you. Van Horn over in Culberson County, a little bit more rural than urban El Paso, obviously just as important and just as in much need of volunteers who will go knock on doors in Van Horn. Denton, Texas, in the north part of the state, in the greater DFW metro area. Let's go knock on doors in Denton. If you live in Collin, Denton, Dallas, or Tarrant counties, join us in Denton this weekend. We were in Dallas County a few weekends ago knocking on doors to register people for the vaccine. Let's be in Denton this weekend. Catarina in Dimmitt County. It is an hour north of Laredo, near Carrizo Springs. If you want to knock on doors with us in Catarina, Texas, we will be there Saturday. Our volunteers will, at least, knocking on doors, helping to register people for the vaccine. If you want to join them and help save lives in Dimmitt County, this is your chance. Go to the link at the bottom of this screen. Randolph, which is in Fannin County, which is 30 minutes east of Sherman, and only the real Texans among us will know those 3 communities. If you want to help us in this part of Texas, often overlooked, doesn't get enough attention and resources, could use the help by you knocking on doors in that county. If you live anywhere near there, click the link, sign up, join us there. Houston, Texas, maybe you've heard of it. We're going to knock on some doors in one of the zip codes in Houston. Fort Hancock out here in West Texas. We'll be knocking on doors there. Beaumont in the southeastern part of the state, knocking on doors there. Balmead in McLennan County, just outside of Waco, Texas. We'll be knocking on doors there. Presidio, not too far from the border in Presidio County, just northwest of Big Bend, one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. We'll be knocking on doors in Presidio County. Fort Worth in Tarrant County. Lane City in Wharton County, which is southwest of Houston. Batesville and Zavala County. This is, again, another part of the state that doesn't get the resources or help. Let's make sure that we register people to get vaccinated. Dallas in North Texas, Lubbock in West Texas, Donna in the Rio Grande Valley in Hidalgo County, and Laredo also along the border. These are just 17, or maybe that was 18 communities. And pick any one of them this Saturday. And let's get down there. Let's get on the front doors of the people who need the help. And let's assist them in getting signed up to get a vaccine. Remember, in some of these communities, folks don't have the luxury of internet or a cell phone, or maybe access to English language media where the information on how to get vaccinated is being shared. Your presence at that door, demonstrating that you care about them, showing some basic human kindness in the midst of a pandemic that has taken more than 44,000 lives in this state alone, could mean the difference and could mean a life or death difference for them. I would love for you to join us. Last opportunity at that link. If you don't live in Texas, or you don't live in or near any of these 17 or 18 counties that I mentioned, you can join us on a phone bank follow-up, which is the next week. So after we knock on doors this weekend and we meet all these people that we want to register, we're going to do some follow-up by phone to make sure that we get those appointments set, or at least get them registered, and then try to reach those by phone whom we could not reach by person at their doors. So again, we're disappointed. We're angry at what the governor has done. And unfortunately, I wish it were just this, but it is, the more than 100 of our fellow Texans who died in the winter storm and the human disaster that followed because we prioritized the profits of the power companies over the well-being of our fellow Texans. It's the 44,000 that he's allowed to die already by his inability to meet the challenge of this pandemic and the botched rollout. We cannot afford any more death and devastation in this state. We've been through too much. We've taken too much. And some families and some communities and some parts of town more than others. Let's go to those communities. Let's talk to those families. Let's be in those parts of town this weekend and reach out to those who could use the help to get registered to be vaccinated so that they don't die of COVID, so that we can get this state back to work, so that it's safe to be out, so that we can ultimately overcome the challenge of this virus. It's not going to happen through wishful thinking. It's not going to happen through the governor's order today. It's only going to happen through the tough work that I propose you join me in this weekend. That's the link down there below. I know that Cynthia and Kate, you have been texting me a lot. I'm sorry I have not seen a single one of them because I've been reading off the list of counties that we're going to be in. It looks like we have, reading this from Kate, up to 45 people just over this live stream have signed up to knock on doors with us in Laredo, Texas, in Webb County. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 45 courageous souls, absolute heroes who are willing to go out there and reach those who need to be signed up to get vaccinated. Really appreciate that. Ray says that Houston has every single variant and Abbott is going to open the entire state, and that's ridiculous. I absolutely agree with you, Ray. This is courting disaster and death, and unfortunately, given the science and given what we've seen happen over the last year, that's exactly what will follow in Texas. Our job right now is to minimize that devastation and death by getting as many people signed up for vaccines as humanly possible. That's why I'm out here broadcasting, transmitting, and receiving from you right now. What we can not do individually, I think we can all do as a group. When our government lets us down and absolutely fails us, like literally the electricity doesn't work, the water doesn't run, you can't get warm when it's 9 degrees outside. People are freezing to death in their own homes. It was neighbors checking on neighbors. It was absolute strangers inviting other strangers into their homes to get warm. It was volunteers delivering water and food to those who could not leave their homes to make sure that they were okay and literally could survive this. It's that same ethic that you see at play right now. It's all of us, none of us in elected positions, working together to help those of our fellow Texans who otherwise won't get the help. And in fact, will be the first to go down thanks to this governor's absolutely irresponsible order today to completely remove all of the safeguards that were protecting the lives of our fellow Texans. Elizabeth says, I have a medically fragile child, and this is horrible what Abbott is doing. Elizabeth, I agree with you. And I talked to so many medical families or medically complex families over the last couple of weeks who told me how harrowing it was to have the power go out in their homes, to have to rush their children and all the equipment to a hospital in hopes that there was capacity enough to be seen, to get the ventilator going, to get the oxygen running. Some who weren't able to get into hospitals, who were cared for in the back of ambulances. Imagine following up that horror with this. There will be no public health protection except for the public health protection that we all voluntarily employ because our governor has checked out of the fight. He's surrendered to the virus. He's going to allow it to run rampant in this state. We are now on our own, but we are not on our own alone. We are on our own together. And that may be some cold comfort, but let's take what we got right now and let's work together. Join me on these canvases. The link is down here below. Michael says, I'm fully vaccinated and I still wear my mask. Thank you, Michael. Keep doing that, even if you are vaccinated, folks. And I think you know this, but it's a point that bears repeating. It's still possible that you could pick up and spread the virus. Wear a mask, no matter who you are, where you are, when you're out. Please wear a mask. There are very few exceptions to this. When you're exercising at a distance from someone else, when you're dining outdoors and you are able to maintain some distance and you pull your mask down to take a bite. Other than that, in these very few exceptions, have that mask on at all times. Becky says, Texans, it's on us now. Absolutely. Olga, protect your healthcare workers, wear a mask. My sister, who is a nurse, talked to another nurse in El Paso today who's on the front lines. These extraordinarily brave women and men, the doctors, the janitors in the hospitals, the frontline healthcare and support staff workers, they are literally risking their lives, and too many of them have lost their lives in the battle against this virus. To put them in harm's way once again in this really extraordinarily irresponsible decision is unconscionable, unforgivable. And yet, we cannot only be angry and remain impotent in the face of it. We've got to actually do something. I'm open to your ideas and suggestions, but the best that I can think of that harnesses the power of all these extraordinary volunteers, many of whom are on this live stream right now, is taking action by knocking on the doors of those who are not vaccinated today, but who are eligible because of their underlying conditions or their age to get vaccinated. That's how we get to where we want to be, a safe Texas where ultimately we will not need masks. Ultimately, it's safe to go into any business. Ultimately, you can hug your mom again, but we're not there yet, folks. And we're getting closer. The president announced today that he believes there will be enough vaccines distributed by May. The old deadline was July, but by May for every adult in America. That's amazing news. Just hold on for a couple more months until we get there. Do not give up when we are so damn close to the finish line, which is exactly where we are today, which makes this surrender by the governor completely inexplicable and unforgivable. So please wear your mask. This one is on us. Now, Rosanna says she's going to knock doors in Lubbock. Thank you for signing up for the vaccine canvas in Lubbock. We love you, Rosanna. Thank you. Betsy Kleinman, she says that she loves that we are on our own together. That's how I feel, Betsy. And Betsy's a great example in North Texas of volunteers who went out and canvassed in South Dallas County a couple of weekends ago to reach those communities that, again, have been on the front lines of COVID infections, hospitalizations, and unfortunately, deaths. We need to do this once again in Dallas and Fort Worth and Denton for my friends up in North Texas. And we need to bring a lot more friends this time if we're going to get enough people vaccinated, or at least registered to be vaccinated, so that we help those who are in harm's way right now. Let me say this, as I congratulate Faith for signing up in Houston. Let me say this. Many of you who are on this live stream right now joined us after a similar appeal that I made on Facebook and on Twitter to call vulnerable senior citizens in the midst of the deadliest winter storm the state of Texas has ever seen in the recorded history of the state of Texas. we made more than 900,000 phone calls to senior citizens. We connected them to warming centers for those who were in 9-degree temperatures inside their homes, bundled up under blankets and coats and anything that they could put around themselves. We got warm meals to those who hadn't eaten. We delivered water to those who needed some because the water lines were no longer working. And then we followed up with in-person visits to so many of our fellow Texans to survey the water damage after their pipes burst, to see the mold creeping up their walls and onto their ceiling as temperatures began to rise in many parts of Texas. And then with your help and your donations to literally get money into the hands of people who could use it to repair their homes, to get plumbing supplies, to hire a plumber, to just make sure that their house is habitable again before they bring their kids back home. We raised more than $1.4 million, knocked on thousands of doors, made more than 900,000 phone calls. Folks, together, we made a difference. And don't take it from me. If any of you were on those phone calls to Texas seniors, listen to the people that you spoke with. So many of them broke down crying when they realized this was not a call from somebody trying to sell something or ask for something, but someone who just wanted to check up and make sure that you're okay. And do you have water? Do you know where the nearest warming center is? Can we get you a ride if you're unable to move on your own? We all did that together. And it's one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever been a part of. It should not have been necessary. We should never have had the power outage or the loss of water. We should have had a government that came in and helped when help was most needed, but we had us, and we had everybody who's on this live stream and thousands more who pitched in. Let's do that again. This is extraordinary. The immediate real-time action that we can take together. We don't have to wait, to print the editorial in the paper. We don't have to wait for a future election to change leadership. We don't have to wait for those in positions of power to finally get it right. We can take matters into our own hands. We can take action together and help those that we are so concerned about right now. So if you're angry about this order from the governor and you want to do something about it, go to the link at the bottom of your screen, sign up for an in-person canvas to knock on doors, safely, double masked, 6-foot distance, but getting folks signed up so that we help save their lives. And then if you're not in Texas, you can sign up for a phone bank that will follow up with phone calls to make sure that we reach every single eligible person possible in the state of Texas. Jen Morris says, my 94-year-old grandma in McAllen cannot find an appointment for the vaccine. So I mentioned that we're going to be knocking on doors in Donna, Texas on Saturday. That is not too far from McAllen. Maybe we can reach Jen Morris's 94-year-old grandmother and help get her signed up as well. Kate or one of our volunteer managers, let's follow up with Jen and see if we can help there. Claire says, I love this. I have other plans Saturday, but I'm canceling them to volunteer in Dallas. I'm angry at today's announcement, and I want to support healthcare workers and all those who have been heroes this year. That's right. I used to serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and it's the most important job I've ever had because I got to help those who literally risked their lives for this country. When so few were willing to do so, they signed up, volunteered, and served in the wars that we fight half a world away. And many of them came back the same person. Many came back a different person. Many came back with the signature wounds of service, post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic amputations to their bodies, injuries that would never heal. And it just came home to me working on that committee and working for these veterans. It's not enough to say thank you for your service, or I appreciate that you stepped up. It really matters the actions that you take. Ensuring that VA wait time to see a mental health care provider is not measured in months and years, but in minutes or hours, or at the most days. It's making sure that the VA is fully funded so every veteran who wants care is able to receive it. I feel the exact same way right now about our healthcare workers. In New York, they were banging the pots and pans at 7 p.m. every evening to thank them for their heroic service and sacrifice and struggle against the virus. In Texas, when we see somebody, in healthcare workers uniform, recognize them as a nurse or a doctor or someone who's just leaving one of the local hospitals as one of the support staff. We say thank you for what you're doing. Maybe buy them a meal if we see them, behind us in line at the drive-through. But if you really care about them, then you're going to help save their lives. And the only way to help save their lives is to be smart in how we confront this virus. Double masking, which is the best guidance from the CDC, keeping 6-foot distance, not leaving your home unless you absolutely need to. And then this, helping to vaccinate as many eligible Texans as we can. We rank, folks, 49th in the country in vaccinations per capita, 49th. We should, a proud state of 30 million people with the largest medical center on planet Earth in the Texas Medical Center, with some of the most brilliant minds in the realm of public health. We should be leading the state, leading the country and leading the world in vaccinations. Here's how we begin to do that work. So I hope that you'll join us. Reading so many great comments coming in. Carla signed up in Dallas. Matthew and Drusilla Reyes signed up. Laura says, calling the seniors over the last couple of weeks, senior citizens in Texas, changed my life. She feels so lucky to be a member of Powered by People. Laura, we feel very lucky that you are a part of this organization. I feel just as fortunate as you do, getting to make those phone calls right alongside you, getting to travel the state last week. We put 2,500 miles on the truck over 7 days, from San Antonio to San Marcos to Austin to Waco up to Rains County in the north, back down to Rosebud and Marlin, Texas, to LaGrange, to Robstown, to Corpus Christi, to the Rio Grande Valley, to Roma, to Zapata, to Laredo, to Del Rio, to Eagle Pass. We tried to go to every part of the state and to go to those communities, especially that so often are overlooked and don't get the resources and get the help, and which were hit so hard, both by the storm, but more importantly, by our failure in governance and by the failure of our governor, leaving people without electricity, without water, without heat, and far too many of them dying as the price for that failure. We wanted to be able to help as many as we could. Thanks to all of you, we really did a great job. And it's only because we did it together. Let's meet this challenge with COVID in the face of our governor's surrender in the same way. He may have dropped out of the fight. We won't. He may not be there for those who are most vulnerable and need the help, and in fact, may have condemned far too many of them to die, but we are going to be there for them. We are literally going to be at their front doors, getting them signed up. We're not going to give up. We may not have the political power. We may not have the office. We may not have the title, but we have one another. And that's a pretty damn powerful thing in this moment. And so let's make the absolute most of it. All right. I don't know that there's a whole bunch that I can add. I was unable to read every single comment coming through. I'm trying to read as many of them as Cynthia and Kate have sent in. But one last appeal to join us at this link right here. It's the events page at Powered by People. You can sign up for any one of these 18 different in-person vaccination canvases. And to be clear, and for the late comers, that just means we knock on doors and ask if anyone in that house is eligible to get vaccinated and wants to get vaccinated, and then help to sign them up so that they do get vaccinated and so that they are not in any danger of succumbing to the coronavirus and COVID and being hospitalized and potentially dying. That's the work that we're doing right now. You can also sign up to phone bank and call people and get them signed up that way as well. So lots of opportunities to help. Understand that you're angry. I'm angry at what the governor did today, but anger is not enough. Anger, as Mick Jones and The Clash said, can be power. Let's use that power. Let's make sure that we reach those who need the help. Join us. Love you all. So grateful for everything that you're doing. So nice to see so many amazing people on the live stream tonight. We'll check back in soon. In the meantime, be safe, wear a mask, keep your distance, and let's go help our fellow Texans. Adios, everybody.